There are moments in biodimensional integration that stop even me in my tracks. And this was one of them. A client was standing in a memory from his childhood, and his grandfather was yelling at him. And then, without even warning, he wasn't looking at his grandfather anymore. He was looking out through his grandfather's eyes. And what he felt next changed the way he understood his entire life. Have you ever wondered whether someone loved you but simply didn't know how to show it? Maybe a parent, a grandparent, or someone whose approval you desperately wanted but could never quite reach?
And then they were gone. And you were left holding this strange mix of grief and old hurts, memories you treasured, tangled up with a sense of rejection that you never got to work through.
That's today's story. And for anyone who hasn't heard us talk about this work before, in biodimensional integration, we work from the belief that the soul already knows where it needs to go in order to heal. We don't come in with agenda or steer the session in any direction.
Which means someone might land in a past life or find themselves seeing a memory through someone else's eyes entirely. Whatever comes up is exactly what they needed.
So let's get into what he found. This person came in with curiosity and openness. They had no agenda. He just wanted to see what would come up. So his soul took him back to his grandfather's kitchen. He was small again, maybe 5 or 6 years old. And at first, he was just simply there, watching it unfold as himself, a small boy who'd taken a few coins from his grandfather's change jar on the counter. And he got caught. And his grandfather stood over him, disappointed, asking him why.
So it starts the way you'd expect. He's the child again, small in that kitchen.
Right? But then something begins to happen. The edges of him, of who he thought he was in that room, started to dissolve. He wasn't looking at his grandfather anymore. He was looking out from inside of him. At first, there was confusion. Whose hands are these? Then he felt it, the ache in his old knees, the weight settling differently in his shoulders, the rhythm of an old man's breathing. And without anyone saying a word, he understood. He had become his grandfather. Standing across from him, small and defiant, was a little boy that was himself.
You know what's striking me? He wasn't just seeing his grandfather differently. For a few moments, he actually lost the ability to be right. He couldn't stay in his own hurt because he was suddenly feeling someone else's. And that's such a profound shift.
It's wild. I've never personally embodied someone that I've known from this lifetime, but the few sessions that I've guided where a client had this type of experience, there's always almost like this pause, like the brain is trying to catch up with their own body. And then suddenly you're not a witness anymore. You're breathing someone else's breath.
And you don't get to choose which parts you feel?
No, you get all of it. From inside that body, he felt everything his grandfather had felt. Looking at this defiant, hurting little boy, frustration, yes, but underneath it, fear. Fear that this child was headed towards the same pain his grandfather had known, and a desperation to protect him from it, with no gentle way even to use his words to say so. So the words came out hard and they stung.
Mm. We spend so much of our lives assuming we know why someone treated us the way they did. Then one moment like this completely rearranges the story.
Exactly. It didn't excuse what happened, but it gave it context. And underneath all that frustration was love. Thick, almost trapped beneath years of fear and habit. Like it wanted out, but it couldn't find the door. The shock of that kitchen hadn't even settled before the space broke again. And he was 15 now, still inside of his grandfather. And this time there was no calm before it broke. The school had called about a fight that he had had, and his grandfather answered the phone, already tense. And by the time the boy walked through the door, the room was already loaded. The teenager himself at 15 came in swinging before his grandfather got a full sentence out, yelling that nobody understands him. He was slamming his hands on the counter, and his grandfather was yelling back, just like really yelled.
Sounds like a real fight, not just a scolding.
A real one. His grandfather said things he didn't mean, and then the door slammed. Yeah, the house went quiet after that. And he stood there, still his grandfather. His hands were shaking. He was listening to all that silence, already wishing that he could call the boy back into the room.
Did he expect it just to keep repeating another version of the same fight?
That's exactly what he expected, but the soul had something else to show him. The scene shifted, but not into another argument. This time he found himself somewhere much older. His grandfather, decades earlier, long before he was even born, a boy himself, maybe around the age of 8, was standing in front of his own father. He's crying because he had fell. He's waiting for someone to help him up, and instead, his grandfather's father looked at him with disgust and was like, "Stop crying before I give you something to cry about." And that's all it takes. The crying stopped immediately, not because the pain was gone, but because he had learned something from a very young age, that tears weren't safe and vulnerability wasn't safe and love didn't sound gentle.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. And that's the moment that my client realized his grandfather had never learned what tenderness sounded like.
So he wasn't just feeling his grandfather's fear anymore, he was feeling where it came from.
Exactly. And then the scene moved one more time, not into another blow up, into stillness. His grandfather, older now, sitting alone at that same kitchen table after his grandson had grown and moved away, missing him, wishing he'd said things differently, and grieving a relationship that still had time left in it, but that he didn't know how to repair.
So the final piece wasn't an argument at all.
No, it was the quiet after all of them. A man who loved his grandson enormously and had run out of years he thought he still had to make it right. And because that truth was finally clear, the memory dissolved and it became a direct meeting. So his grandfather got to say the things that he carried with him to the grave, how sorry he was, how proud he actually was of him, and how much he loved him deeply.
So he finally heard it.
He did. And before the session ended, his grandfather left him with something unexpected, an anchor in the case of a yellow balloon. He told him that when you see one, think of me. And months later, there it was, floating around a grocery store parking lot, completely out of place. And he smiled, snapped a picture, sent it to me because he knew why, and so did I.
Wow. So now every yellow balloon means something. It's a sign.
It totally does. And we spend so much of our lives measuring love by how well it was expressed. But what if sometimes the love was there and the language wasn't? That doesn't erase the hurt, but it can completely change what the hurt meant. The love had always been there. It had simply never found the door until now.
I think somebody needed to hear that today. I love that this story doesn't end with certainty. It ends with relationship and connection, with paying attention.
Exactly. Healing isn't always one dramatic moment. Sometimes it's learning to notice the quiet ways love keeps showing up.
And before we close today, we want to give you something to carry with you this week.
The soul loves a wink and a nod, so here's a challenge. Keep your eyes open. If you do the visualization with us today and connect with someone you love, watch for your own yellow balloon this week. It might be a literal balloon, it might be a yellow car, a song on the radio, a phrase someone says out of nowhere.
When it happens, we want to hear about it. Tag us on Instagram at Sacred Soul Roots and tell us what your sign was.
And before we rush back into the rest of your day, give yourself a few quiet minutes. If someone came to mind during today's story, maybe write them a letter. Maybe tell them the things you never got to say. Healing often begins with making space for the conversations that our hearts have been waiting to have.
And if today's story awakened a curiosity about your own healing journey, we'd be honored to walk alongside you. You can learn more about our biodimensional integration and schedule a session with us at sacredsoulroots.com.
Before we move into the visualization, if you're driving, this is your moment to pull over. Please don't meditate at 65 miles per hour.
Yes, safety first. Grab some headphones if you can, find a quiet corner away from the kids or the dog, and let's get into it.
Find yourself in a comfortable place, somewhere you can let your body fully relax. And as you settle in, notice your breath. Just notice it. You don't have to change anything. And with each breath you take, you're moving deeper into a state of ease. Your body is becoming heavier, more grounded, sinking into whatever is supporting you right now. And tension you've been holding in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands, let it begin to soften and release. Bring to mind someone you love who is no longer with you in this physical form, someone whose presence you miss. Don't force it. Just allow them to arrive naturally. But before we go any further, I want you to know if the person who comes to mind isn't someone safe or loving, that's okay. Simply let them drift away and choose someone else instead. Someone whose presence feels genuinely warm and safe to be with. Simply notice what emerges in your heart as they arrive. There may be tenderness, there may be longing, and there may be both. Now, remember a specific moment with this person, a memory that holds weight for you, and let your mind drift back. Notice what you see, the colors, the light, the space around you. Notice what you hear. Notice what you feel in your body. And notice the presence of this person you love. Where are they? What are they doing? Can you see their face? Allow yourself to feel the love that exists between you. This love doesn't end. It transforms, but it persists.
And now, with your next breath, something begins to shift. Gently, slowly, you feel their presence growing closer. Not distant, not a memory anymore, but right here with you. Just let yourself sit in their energy, however it shows up. Let yourself fill up with their presence the way you would if they walked into the room. And in this space, Allow yourself to hear the words they may have never said. Whatever it is your heart is needing to hear from them, let it come. Their pride, their love, their sorry, if there's a sorry. Stay here for as long as you need. Let their love move through you. Let their knowing of who you are settle into your bones. This is real. This connection is real. And before you leave this space, ask them for a sign. Something simple, not something so rare you'll never see it, but not so common you'll overlook it either. Let them come to you clearly, whatever it is. And know that from now on, whenever it crosses your path, it's them saying hello, saying, I'm still here, saying, I love you.
And when you're ready, only when you're ready, begin to feel yourself gently returning to this room, to your body in this space. Feel the chair beneath you, the ground under your feet. With each breath, you're returning, more alert, more grounded. And when you're completely ready, you can open your eyes, carrying with you the love, the connection, the knowing of this person remains with you. Thank you for listening to our Sacred Soul Story Time. We hope you found a little bit of peace and a whole lot of healing. Until next time, stay rooted.